So my first question to you is, can you tell your young listeners about the uses of technology and in particularly the types of space technology that is being used?
I mean, there are too many uses. Like, for instance, if you guys know, Velcro came from satellites and space, and then tiles actually that we use in our houses came from satellites. So often what happens or came from like space technology effectively. So often a lot of things that we use in like a lot of day-to-day life, we don't know where they come from, but they come from like solving very complicated problems. And space is a very complicated problem. And I mean, you guys like live in the satellite town of India. Like there is so much space stuff in Ahmedabad. Say like it's not always very direct correlations. It's more of like there are different things. Like the way technology and innovation finds its utility and adoption, it's not always a direct road. It's very chaotic. It's very random. Everything from like, the way our airports run and flights are taken, and the way we know about weather. We are in the middle of, I think, Biparjoy. So all of that information is coming from space technology. We're able to manage Biparjoy better, plan for all the disaster response and everything because of space technology. But it's a multi-billion dollar, multi-trillion dollar entity, this thing, space business.
Yeah.
And it's the next human frontier, right? As Indians, we still don't send Indians to space. We don't have like a spaceship. I mean, it should be normal. It should be like, we should be like sending like 10, 12 Indians to space every year. We should have our own international space station. We are spending so much money on like clothes and fashion and things that we don't need. Like there is so much money left we are spending on sort of luxuries or sort of middle disposable income, but we don't have our own space station and things like that. And I don't think any Indian through Indian agencies and not through NASA has gone to space. I think it's Rakesh Sharma and I'm forgetting her name. So yeah, like, I mean, these should be some of those, next human frontier. These should be like achievements that we should aim for.
Yeah. And what was your motivation for starting the Blue Sky Analytics?
What was our motivation for starting? We wanted to start our own company, me and my brother. And I don't know, we somehow stumbled. It was not very direct. It was also chaotic. We were looking at a bunch of different ideas, and this sounded really exciting and really nerdy, and it felt like it would be very difficult, but it felt like it would be very fun. So, we wanted to do something which kind of leverages technology. We didn't want to do like a payments app, like a fintech, or we didn't want to just sell people insurance. We didn't want to sell people shoes. We didn't want to make like make a brand. I mean, sure, like now I see a lot of innovation and a lot of other things from business model, but at that time, we wanted to do something which was very like AI and complicated technology, and also just pure luck. We just kind of stumbled upon this. It was a little chaotic. Yeah.
That's really great to know that it just came up as a random idea, I guess.
Yeah. No, I think random ideas are very underrated. I think random ideas are very like smart and not having a very linear journey. Life is not linear. Life is a little chaotic.
What were some major problems that you faced when you were starting this, your Blue Sky Analytics?
I mean, we face problem every day. The problems just keep on changing. So the first problem was really, finding people to believe in us so that we can build a team and things like that. I think the second problem was really finding some sort of money, because see, there are two types of businesses. One is where you can make money very quickly. So for instance, let's say you do some sort of like a t-shirt business, you make a t-shirt brand. You can start selling t-shirts. So you, let's say, place an order of 5 lakhs. Now you can start selling t-shirts. But when you make some, I'm sure you must have heard of ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
So but when you're looking at making something sort of a ChatGPT or what Blue Sky is making, you're going to incur cost for 5-6 years to just make the product, which you will sell. So you have to find money first, and then you will make money at some point in future. So the delay cycle is very long. Like there is like When delay cycle is very short, you can be like, I'm just going to take some money from somebody
Mm.
tomorrow or put my own savings. And and sometimes you can't show like proof of concept. So for instance, if let's say you go to somebody and you're like, you know what, I want to start like a brand which sells Indian wear to men, like kurta pajama, because like women wear a lot of Indian wear, but men don't wear Indian wear. So I as an investor would be like, yeah, but Ananya, I'm not sure, like, bikega India mein and all. So what you can do is like, you know what, Abhilasha, let me show you with a proof of concept. Let me do a sales of 50,000 की inventory, which is
Mm.
like, let's say 500 रुपए का एक कुर्ता, तो 1000 kurte. And let me show you how I've been able to sell these 1000 kurte in less than 10 days and make men wear those to office or whatever. So now you have a proof of concept that what I'm saying is actually right and I can do it. So you have a quick turnaround in that proof of
Yeah.
concept. Now, when I'm trying to make something that using satellite data, I'm going to monitor ki Sabarmati mein kitna pani hai, what is the depth of water, what is the width, what is the quality of water. It's going to take me like about like 6 months to just make it. And now in
Mm.
this case, I need to go talk to like government officials and like Sabarmati ki, hey sir, do you want to buy this? Will you buy this? Will you pay me for this? Like, so my cycle from experimenting to getting a result is very long.
Yeah.
Now that I've learned this as a first time founder, I will always do something which has a short life cycle so that I can prove myself as an entrepreneur in the market and then go for complicated startups like this
Yeah.
later.
Okay. Yeah.
Right. So like for instance, what Sam Altman or for Sam Altman, OpenAI was not the first startup. He did
Mm.
something else. For Elon Musk, SpaceX was not the first startup. He did something else. So that would be my lesson that I've learned, that I would do something in which I can show to the market that I'm a good businesswoman quickly and then go for something which is complicated technologically like this later. But life hoti hai, like,
Yeah.
what. So that was first problem. Like finding money to build this was a big problem. Having people trust in me as a founder or as an entrepreneur. And then even now, like now we are finally doing sales and selling it to customers. So selling more and more, building those process, negotiating, getting revenue. Like, my problems are very general. Like now I'm like, 2 crore ka revenue karna agle mahine, like those kinds of problems. So
Yeah.
I think your problems keep on repeating and changing and morphing. Yeah, so like there were too many problems to like remember, and it's never ending. No problem ever ends.
So, my next question is, do you feel like technology is only for science students, or how can other discipline students learn technology application in different fields?
A lot of people doing tech in our company are college dropouts and school dropout. So I don't think that it is for science students or any other discipline. I think everything you need to like the term science student or commerce student is kind of like now not applicable because
Mm.
we learn everything from internet. See what we learned, what I learned in college, what I learned in IIT was something very different, and it was something that was already generated as a body of knowledge, as a
Yeah.
concept, as a theory in let's say 1970s, 1980s, right? So let's say, I don't know, even computer engineering. When I learned computer engineering in class 9, 10th, 11th, 12th, then in college, it was C++, Java. And now most of the computer engineering, like very like the prominent languages are different, right? Like the new frameworks are different. I remember when I first made a website in 2012,
Hmm.
what I was writing in like 15 lines of code, you can write that down in a single line of code.
Yeah. Right.
That's
Right.
prepared libraries and all, right?
Hmm.
So everything keeps on changing very quickly. Like these categories that you're a science student, you're an art student, you're a commerce student are very limiting. And I don't think people
Yeah.
should like really young people should think like this at all. This was very applicable like back in 1970s when there was no internet and there was no AI
Hmm.
and there was like a limitation of knowledge. See, your dad or my dad, that generation came from the world where if you wanted to know about a fact, you had to go to library and get a book, and then in that book you may or may not find something. So there was a scarcity of information. There was limited information, and that's why teachers or schools which gave information were so valuable. The time has changed. There's an abundance of information. There's information overload that our
Yeah.
generation suffers.
Yeah.
So the value of a school or a teacher is fairly minimal. It's fairly low
Yeah.
because there is nothing in the world that even a rickshaw wala's son or you, anybody like can't
But
access.
yeah.
There's
True.
absolutely no information, right? Now,
Hmm.
in this pool of so much information, what you choose to take If you choose to consume, let's say 30-second TikToks, or if you choose to consume an 8-hour tutorial of making like a very like a website, or you choose to consume like how to build on top of LLM, even in grade 11 or grade 9 is your prerogative, right?
Yeah.
So I'll give you some example. My co-founder slash my brother is actually a college dropout. So he's technically Barbie pass. There are
Yeah. Uh-huh.
plumbers and electricians and people who are working in banks for like 25,000 rupees in the retail stores and all, who have more educational qualification than him. He literally left college and he was like 19 years old, went to Bangalore. He was like, "Mujhe nahi jana college." So he's the most uneducated person in our entire family, I would say. Right. Similarly, we just hired somebody who's actually 11th class pass out. He dropped out of class 12th. And when he joined for the first 2-3 months, we could pay him salary because he didn't have his PAN card because he was very young. So he's not even going to college. He didn't even finish class 12th exam. He didn't even get a board education, and he's already working for our company and he's making good income. He's definitely making 6 lakh per annum plus. So 50,000 rupees plus.
Yeah.
Not a bad income. So 50,000
Mm.
rupees is a good income for somebody who graduates out of a college,
College, yeah.
at the age of 21. And this kid is only like 19 and he's not even finished class 12th and he's only working from his parents' house. He's already making money. So now why is he able to do that? And then, we do get a lot of college interns or whatever. We don't, people who have finished college and who have job experience and we don't hire them is because he knows his substance, he knows what he's working on and everything, right? So there's too much body of knowledge out there, which is all for free, or maybe whatever is the cost of internet and cost of like your basic machines, right? Laptop,
Yeah.
phone. And now what you choose to consume from it and make from it is what
Yeah.
you, so this term, like, science student can learn technology or art, it's
Yeah.
very,
It's not relevant anymore.
it's not even irrelevant, it's like dangerously wrong now.
Yeah. Okay. Huh.
Yeah.
Right. Do you believe that data has the capacity to change the ecosystem? So why do you believe so?
It's kind of like you're let's say, an unfit person, right? You have some health issues or something.
Yeah.
You need subjective data about what is wrong with you, right? I need data whether my iron is low or vitamin D is low or whatever, my weight is extra, my cholesterol is higher. You need this subjective information about you. Otherwise, doctors or you yourself or a fitness instructor or a yoga teacher can never work on your body or whatever, right? So I think that's what I would say, how I feel about data for pretty much any problem and why data has a
Mm.
capacity to change the ecosystem, right? For instance, if I take, like, you must have heard that population explosion is the biggest problem in India. Have you
Yeah. Yeah.
like
Yeah.
overpopulation? Now, the fun fact is, India's fertility rate is now 2.00.
Oh, okay.
Replacement rate is 2.1.
Right.
South Korea's fertility rate is 0.7. Japan, every year is the population is declining by 1 million. At this rate, Japanese as a race will disappear by
Yeah.
2100, right? China, because of their one child policy, now in the country of 1.4 billion people, which is a lot of people, they only had 9 million babies last year. Just imagine how few, like
Yeah.
1.4
Yeah.
billion people and 9 million babies, right? I think more than 300 or 400 million people, you can check the number exactly, but in China are above the age of 60. So they effectively will die. And the young people are like they're just like the population is shrinked.
Shrink. Right.
Because of one child policy, there's a cultural problem, which is like, if I am a 30-year-old person in China today compared to India, I don't have an uncle or aunt, I don't have a niece or nephew, I don't have cousins, I don't have anybody. I had two parents who both had two parents, because this is the third generation, right? So when you start to look into data a little bit, you're like, oh my God, overpopulation is not a problem, underpopulation is a problem globally. Like China,
Yeah.
Japan, Korea as countries are going to practically disappear and not exist. When animal species have that less of a reproduction rate, we call those species endangered, right?
Yeah.
Why I say like data has a capacity to change the ecosystem, because numbers are very objective. Numbers are not your opinion or my opinion. It's not
Yeah.
my opinion about like, is BJP good or bad or not or whatever. Numbers are very objective. Like, it's not like let's say my weight is 64 kilos and my weight is 64 kilos. Like, it's not like whether I'm fat or thin or skinny or fit or whatever, it's very objective, right? So that's why I feel like numbers, just data, because it's objective, it's not subjective. It's not
Yes.
like something which is like a very opinion. It's something on which we can debate, argue, think about, change our strategies, go back and look at that number. So I think narratives which are very complicated and which are not rooted in numbers are very dangerous, because they could
Hmm.
really take you down the wrong path,
Yeah.
and although sadly in climate change, the numerical understanding is poor, I would say. So
Hmm.
climate change has become a very emotionally charged, heated, self-righteous topic, that, oh my God, I'm an environmentalist, but not like actually looking at numbers and
Yeah.
like what's really happening. So like for instance, the whole vegan, vegetarian bullshit, right? I've written a lot about it. So Pakistan, a country of 220 million, eats 15 kilogram meat per capita. US, a country of 330 million people, parallel to size of Pakistan, thodi si badi hai.
Hmm.
It's 120 kilogram per meat per capita. 120 kilogram would be your entire weight and my entire weight combined, and still a little more left. So
Yeah.
it means that
Right.
somebody is eating like both of us in the year. An average American is eating meat equivalent to the two of us in a year. That's not possible. Like, I mean, you can't say that it's non-vegetarian people, because Pakistanis are also non-vegetarian. And they're only
Hmm.
eating 15 kilogram meat, which is potentially like my one leg and one limb arm, which I can understand as a meat consumption, but 120 as a
Yeah.
human
It's
consumption, right?
yeah.
So now if you look into numbers very carefully, you will not say that, hey, you should become vegetarian or vegan.
Hmm.
Because also in the US in the last 5 years, people have been becoming vegetarian or vegan, but the top level number of meat consumption per capita has not reduced from 120 to like 60, right? But so you will look at numbers and you'll be like, hey, you guys are wasting a lot of meat. You should stop wasting meat. You should eat meat
Yeah.
like Pakistanis who are also eating a lot of meat,
Hmm.
meat with every other meal. They have lots of meat dishes, but they are not eating. So, now there is like in Ireland or in Netherlands, the government is looking at restricting the number of cows a farmer can own, because the cow fat produces methane. Now, these are really, really dangerous narratives, because unless you look at like a top level sort of like summary of what's happening where, you wouldn't solve the problem, and you will, just like China's one child policy, you'll create one really, really dangerous and bad problem. Uh,
Yeah.
that's where
Yeah.
I talk
Hmm.
that, I always say that, numbers are very important.
Yeah.
When we sit across a table, let's say we are 20 people coming from different backgrounds, different mindset, different countries, different races, we'll all have our own perspective. I grew up in India, so I'll say one way of living is better. You grew up somewhere else, you'll say this way of living is better. We'll have like some like religious person who'll say that this way of living is better, blah, blah, blah. So everybody's putting their, self-righteousness forward. And I think numbers are like, the only thing which sort of really solve problem.
Yeah.
That's where this my sort of favorite quote comes from. Yeah.
Yeah. So like without the numbers, you might just be in a complete blank if you don't
Yeah,
have the correct number.
exactly. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. My next question to you is, do you think actual human work can all be sourced out by AI?
Partially yes, partially no. A lot of human work, like making a presentation, writing an email, solving an Excel sheet, doing some analysis, doing a graph, making a graphic design, all of that will be sourced out to AI. So much similar to how earlier you used to have post boxes and postman, and now you don't, because you really have a lot of like emails, but you have like delivery boys. So things have changed, right? So there's going to be a big shift in the job market for people like yourself who are coming now in job market. I don't know what kind of jobs will exist and what
Yeah.
jobs will disappear. I am definitely seeing a lot of jobs simply disappear. So that is going to be there. But then the other thing is that there is inertia and human inefficiency. If you look around you, human job market is not organized most efficiently. It is very inefficient. Like if
Yeah.
you go
True.
into governments, if you go into a company, you'll be like, oh my God, 90% of you don't need to be doing this job. You're doing nothing, right? You can so human job markets are organized very inefficiently. And I think that's because We all like to interact with each other. We all like to work with each other. That's the core of human existence, right? I think job market, if societies go extremely capitalist and extremely efficient, where companies and entities are using like AI absolutely to the T, you will definitely see a lot of culling of certain kind of people in roles. Like, so if a company was hiring, let's say 10 graphic designers earlier, it might now only hire two. If it was hiring like 20 people to write code, then it might only hire like three. So you might see that kind of shift. I think, but again, because companies and if general, especially larger companies like the likes of Accentures and Googles, mostly are very sort of like slightly inefficient. There's an inefficiency in there, right? There's lots of people who don't really do any work because the companies make a lot of profit and revenue on top. So what happens is, let's say I as a company am making $2 million a year, right?
Right.
It might come from just like, a work of 5 people, but I just have room. I have extra money to hire 100 people. Like,
Yeah.
this is Google, right? Google is making so much money, like trillions of dollars, right? Now, for instance, if Google fires pretty much like half the team tomorrow, it might not really affect Google because like
Google, right? Yeah.
the mechanism is, all of the machinery is already built,
Hmm.
right? But it just has that extra money to pay a lot of people,
Hmm.
right? So,
Right.
so that inefficiency, I think, will exist in some industries. But over time, if the industries do become, and I'm just thinking my thoughts out aloud. So on the subject of AI, I'm yet to make my thoughts because everything is changing so quickly. See, ChatGPT only came in November. So even from my own perspective, it's just changing at such a rapid rate that I'm like, oh my God, like, and I'm one of the early adopters who's like leveraging it very much. So yeah, like I think some like jobs, like for instance, news, all the content could be effectively generated by AI. You feed in a text, AI makes a video. But still we like the news anchor coming on stage and talking because we like that personal touch. We don't want a impersonal,
Yeah.
right? So I think many roles will stay very much. Many roles will be completely removed. I think the corporate structure of jobs and everything will look very different. One thing I feel will probably really undergo a lot of changes: education. Education system is becoming pointless because technology is moving way too fast.
Yeah.
Like in our parents' generation, a big seismic shift in technology used to happen every 20 years.
Yeah. True.
Go to college, you learn things, you work. Now the next shift is coming when the new generation is going to college. Right. In our era, it's happening every 5 years. So we can't go to college every 5 years. In fact, the teachers and professors are often like really backdated. They don't know anything, right? So that's going to be a big shift. The way people go for jobs is going to change. It's I think your gigs and all are going to really be on a rise. Solo entrepreneurs or solopreneurs is going to become quite a big phenomena, or entrepreneurs with very small teams, like one entrepreneur with a 5 people team instead of one entrepreneur with a 500 people team.
Team, right? Yeah.
Right. So some industries will definitely be changed a lot. To some aspect, I feel this era might lead to resurgence of hardware technologies because software will be so like commoditized, so AI driven and everything, right? So now finally manufacturing or farming or musicians, like things which actually involve human hand and you have to be a human being, will probably come back a lot up. Like aspects like nannies and families and like human engagement, which is something which can't be done by AI. So what can't be done by AI? AI can't have kids. AI can't kind of dance. AI cannot like play a live music. AI cannot cook a meal, or AI can't have a great I mean, AI can have a great conversation with you. That I wouldn't say. But like, so what is it which is very fundamentally human? AI can't breathe. AI can't sit in a park and just breathe and like,
Yeah.
glory of sun, right? So there will be some of those aspects. One comment I will make though is that with this change in AI is good that we are in India and we have this kind of a political, socio-political system, which is very cultural and slightly socialist and slightly like conservative and family rooted and all, and not very capitalist. Because most likely there will be quite a lot of people who will lose their jobs and all. So it's nice to be in a semi-socialist state rather than a purely capitalist state, right, America? Because otherwise, you would really have sort of AI taking all the jobs and everything. While in India, we can have like, 10 people sort of like, what is it called? Sabji ki dukaan or some those kinds of things. So
Yeah.
not a very like that sort of like a society which is focused on profit maximization. We are a society we are an economy and a society which is focused on a lot of like, it has a lot of cultural sort of inheritance of how we operate. We don't always optimize and maximize on, top line that, like, for instance, you might have seen in, this happens in US, that when you go to a shopping, like a grocery place, like a Target or a Walmart, in some cases, you can check out yourself.
Yeah, the self-billing area.
Yeah, like checkout is all by yourself. Like there are Amazon stores in which there's no human beings, there's only cameras. You pick up, you go and pay out and everything, right? But in India, we like the bargain. We like that bhaiya ye kitne ka hai, bhaiya wo kitne ka, bhaiya ye dikhao, bhaiya wo dikhao. So our markets are that way. Like if you go to like any old clothing market, every shop will have 20, 30 people, even if it doesn't need it. Because the person who's going for shopping is not going to just get the item. We could get the item online also. Our shopping experience is a lot around like, that banter and bargain. Now, banter and bargain can't be replaced by AI. So that element of our cultural, the way our society is organized is going to be beneficial to us, because these are the jobs that AI can't take. So, that'll be my sort of long, short of question. Yeah.
Thank you. That was like a very thorough and, informative.
I know. This is actually, I've been thinking about like AI quite a lot. So
yeah, because I feel that in today's time, because things are moving so quickly and there are so many changes, you can see like every day, I think people are maybe finding themselves a little lost and confused each and every day, because you can't cope up with so many changes at such a rapid space.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. Like, I mean, honestly, for how old are you? Sorry if I can ask.
I am 16.
Oh my God. Yeah. So for a 16-year-old, like the world is changing very rapidly. Like, I remember when I was 16, I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? What I'm going to become? But now at 16, there's a lot of information overload. It's changing rapidly. I don't know how well schools are equipped to talk to you guys about those things. I don't know how like well parents are equipped to talk about these things anymore. So like, honestly, like, for us, like as we are thinking of our own kids and our own family and all, like we're like, what are the things that we don't want them to obsess over? And those things are definitely like, I don't think I want my kids to obsess over going to IIT or Yale, because I don't think that is any value add. I don't think like instead of like making a lot of money, I probably would want my kids to focus on like living happily, because if like, technically AI will make most of the money, right? Technically, right? Because it can just like do all the jobs, right? But that's not how you will sort of pay out the money. So probably it's going to be just a very big reorganization of how the society is. We all will play a very important part in seeing how we reorganize that society for sustainability, for our own, like, what are the goals we have? Like now that we have this amazing machine, right? We have our own personal bot, which I don't know, when I was I'm born in 1990. So the movies that we used to see, the sci-fi movies and all, those movies had these like fancy, like, technology, and all of that is real now in my lifetime, right? That is so damn real. So the question really becomes that, see, science fiction comes down true because it has.
Agreed.
Right? So now the question becomes that, okay, you have everything that you want. So what do you really want? And I think that's been a big focus for us also, because what we have been told to want, I feel, is a false dream or a false promise. like what we've been told to want, we don't want that anymore. I
Want
think,
that actually, yeah.
yeah, it doesn't make you happy. So what are we told to want? Like I was told to want, like, the highest paying job out of college. I went and did that, but I got really bored in a year. And I realized that in that highest paying job, I'm actually just paying like 50% plus in taxes. So what am I really doing?
Doing.
Right. Then I was told to want to like live in New York. So I lived in New York, but I didn't like it at all. So I was like, what am I doing? I was paying rent, which was almost equal to my annual rent in India. Like my monthly rent was equal to my annual rent in India. So I was again like, what am I really doing? Like, or my 2 months rent was equal to my entire year's rent in India, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, wait, why am I just paying so much on rent? Like, the quality of food I was eating was not nice. So, like, for instance, in New York, I was paying like about $12 for one meal. And it wasn't as nice as the food I was able to get here for about like less than $1, right?
Hmm.
So I was like, what am I really doing? The other question that came to my mind earlier was like, if I fall sick, let's say, how many people will take care of me without me having to pay them, without me having a commercial relationship with them? Like not my
Right.
person, not my doctor. And the number in India was really long. Let's say if I get a fracture in which you don't really have to care, but I can't move. So I
Yeah.
can't go anywhere, right? So somebody has to, like a leg fracture. So I just realized that if I'm living in New York, I would have like maybe one person to take care of me. For it's a very commercial society, even for Americans who live there, right? It's very transactional. But in India, I realized that I can ask help to anybody. Bhaiya, ye kar dena, bhaiya, wo kar dena,
Yeah.
auntie, ye kar do, right? So I'm getting so much. And if I put the dollar value on all this help I'm getting for free, right?
Hmm.
That surpasses the dollar value I'm getting from paying things for paying things in India, in the US, right? So,
Yeah.
like for instance, let's say I'm driving on a road and I'm in a ditch. I got my car in a ditch and I'm not able to take it out of a ditch, right? So you can say that, oh, in India roads are so bad, there's a ditch. In US the roads are not bad, there's no ditch, right? But I mean, sometimes life happens. You just took in a wrong direction or something.
Yeah.
I can get out of the car and I can ask, like, मेरी कार आगे निकाल दो. I can't
Yeah.
do that in America, right? Let's say I bang my car against something. I can get out of the road and 100 people will be there to help me. It's not
Hmm.
going to be the same in America. I'll have to call a AAA. Like those 100 people are not coming to help me. I have to pay $4.99 to be able to get that service of AAA. I don't have
Yeah.
to pay anything here. I just have to
Yeah.
like. So I think it's like sort of thinking about what is it that we actually want. We're told to want a very big house, but then when you start living in that big house, you realize that you have to clean that house and it's a really big pain to live in that big of a house. So you kind of realize that you don't want to live in a very big house, a
Yeah.
very big house. Plus, if there are not other people in that very big house, it's damn empty. Like, so you only live in like one room and one bed and one table that you live in. You don't live, right?
Yeah.
I was told to want like a lot of really big cars and lots of cars and all, but you only
Yeah.
drive one car at a time, right? So it's just I was told to want lots of clothes and everything. But then if I work from home, I never change out of pajamas. So you really start to question a lot of those wants and why do you want all those things? And I think that's going to be a really big important issue for your generation. So
Yeah.
a lot more focus on philosophy and like those fundamentals. But
Hmm.
again, one thing I totally agree with you, none of you are equipped for it. Like nobody's talking about it. The school system is not talking about it.
No, yeah,
Your
agreed.
parents are not talking about it. Everybody's talking about how to stay ahead of AI,
Yeah.
how to save your job. But we're not talking about like, but ahead of AI for what, like why are we creating? So
Why? Yeah.
a lot of those fundamental philosophical concepts are going to be very important. Yeah.
Yeah, because I think, yeah, that's true. Like, I really agree that we really need to sort out what we're actually looking for, because, we have been looking at things in a certain way. I want this and I want that and I want this. But no one's asking the question of why,
Why
why
do
do
I
you
want
want?
this? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I was like, I want to go to IIT. Okay, chalo, theek hai. Although I had a great time at IIT and I think it really
Hmm.
shaped me as a good person. I had some vibe at that time. It was the cheapest education, cheapest, highest quality education in India. Right. So it really made sense.
Hmm.
But then I was like, oh, I want to go to US to study in an Ivy League, right? And like, why? To be honest, I just wanted a thappa that I'm a smart person on myself,
Yeah.
which was not, but I mean, for instance, like I saw my brother, he took that thappa by himself. He didn't have to go to Ivy League. He didn't have to go to US
Mhm.
to get that thappa. He's like, I'm a smart person. If you don't if you don't agree, then go away. I don't care. So you can really, like a lot of those wants, you can kind of start to ask. In fact, I was very much always thinking that I'll go and do an MBA from Stanford and all of those kinds of things. And then
Mhm.
later I was like, I don't want it. Why did I want to do an MBA from Stanford? Like, I'm not going to get
Mhm.
anything out of it. I'll be damn bored and I don't want it. I
Yeah.
want, like, so there are a lot of those wants. I think the wants keep on changing month to month, year to year.
Yeah. Agreed. Yeah.
So being able to question them, debate about them, introspect about them, discuss them, change them, I think that would be quite critical in our society going forward.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My next question would be, what are the opportunities you see in space technology per se for young students, and where can they learn more about, the upcoming technologies and how to kind of use them?
Where can you learn about is the internet, the World Wide Web and AI chat GPT. You can learn
Yeah.
about everything everywhere. I think the biggest, there's a lot of scope. Like the first scope really is from a perspective of almost India as a soft power. Like, we are becoming
Hmm.
the largest population in the world.
Yeah.
Our space program is also, if not in the top 5, it's in the top 10. But
Yeah.
I mean, it should be in top 5 ideally.
Mm.
So yeah, having our own space station makes a very common sense. It should be like one of those things like, why not? Why not have our own space station, right?
Yeah.
Having more and more Indians like fly to space and spend time in space, having more satellites of ours, like for instance, having more lunar mission, more Mars mission, more exploratory deep space exploration mission. Uh, I just think all of these are like very like, how you go to
Mm.
Himalayas and hike just for the fun of it because the Himalayas are right here. Like
Mhm.
you don't go to Himalayas and hike to achieve something. You just
Yeah. Agreed.
for the fun of
Mm.
it, right? So as people, we look at this mountain and we're like, oh, let's go and walk. So similarly, we should look at space and be like, oh, let's explore. So I think a lot of why should be what are the opportunities in space is because space is huge. We have not covered it at all, right? We don't know anything.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
that's
Yeah.
where I would say, and where to learn about it is like, internet.
Mm.
if,
Yeah.
if you're asking this question, then you're not living in 2023.
Yeah. So you are doing a great work at Blue Sky right now. So how can students learn more about your work in particular?
Follow Blue Sky social media and our blogs and read our blogs. We put a lot of internet content on internet. So yeah,
Mhm.
like I think just following our, you can subscribe to our newsletter and read about it. Yeah, when we have a platform called Spacetime, which we will be making it public soon.
Hmm.
It is like Google Maps, but with a lot of environmental data overlaid on it. So you can
Okay.
see air quality in Ahmedabad or water quality of Sabarmati or the number of trees in Ahmedabad on the platform. So yeah, like I mean, we're looking to make that sort of public soon. So like go on spacetime.blueskyhq.io and play around on Spacetime. That's how you will learn about our work.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward for that. My next question will be, what inspires you every day to keep working for the betterment of the environment?
What inspires me to work? Oh my God, very difficult question. Oh gosh, because I don't know how much I'm really now able to do betterment of the environment. I mean, I honestly feel it's like a really big problem that we have found ourselves in, like climate and environment.
Hmm.
It's a huge problem. It's like something which is, and it's so stupid we've landed here with all the resources we have. And I think climate change and environment is kind of the epitome of human stupidity. Like, because we are making things that we don't need, which are polluting the water that we need.
Yeah.
We're making clothes that we don't need. We have clothes worth 3 or 4 generations that we've already made. So we can stop making
Hmm.
all the clothes tomorrow and then, not pollute. So yeah, like I think we are making houses uh, in a world of declining population. So who is going to live in these houses?
Yeah, right.
50
Yeah.
million empty apartments. It doesn't have 50 million people who are going to be
Hmm.
born in the next almost like 7 years. China will be able to give birth to 50 million people. and it has 50 million apartments sitting today. And then also people are going to die. So their apartments are going to be empty. So it's like, why are you making these apartments, right? Why are you making cement and steel to make those apartments? You can stop making cement and steel to make those apartments and stop emissions tomorrow, yesterday.
Right.
You don't have to go such a complicated route. So I think it's just like this really big problem we've got ourselves into. And what I'm doing is not a very direct solution at this point. I think a direct solution might be me writing a book, which I'm trying to write also, which is going to be very much like, hey, we don't need to create a lot of stuff that we are creating. We could be a little lazy, I think. Being a little lazy will be helpful for human existence. Sit at home, spend time with your parents, sleep 8 hours. Do not produce stuff that nobody needs. Because, like, for instance, let's talk about fashion industry, because you're from Ahmedabad, and Surat and Ahmedabad are like the textile sort of hubs of India.
Yeah.
So we as a planet, like especially Americans and average American and European, 50% of items in their wardrobe, they buy and they throw without wearing it once.
Yeah, agree.
Trend is also on rise in India, right? So we buy t-shirts, which we'd never wear. Now imagine like one single t-shirt, let's say this shirt, this first goes through like something like a Reliance ka jo Jamnagar mein refinery hai. From oil you get polyester or nylon or whatever. That thread goes to Surat mein in a mill or in Rajkot or somewhere where it's made into a fabric. Then chemical dyes are brought in and they are layered over and you get a pattern, right? So water pollution happens in the dyeing process. You have like all this plastic that is created. You are taking oil out, right? And then this t-shirt is designed by some designer somewhere in Delhi or somewhere, right? Bangalore. Then it's sort of shipped from the factory in Surat to multiple parts of the world, right? It's in cartons and it goes to these stores and it's shown on those stores as a retailer. Then you buy it, it goes to your house and you never wear it. It just goes into this almari, which is right behind you. And then you throw it like 2 years later, you throw it in trash. So we just did all this pollution to just throw something again in trash without using it. It's so counterintuitive, right? It's so stupid. It's so astonishingly stupid. I think that's the problem of environment and climate. That's the biggest problem. And like, how do we solve it? I don't really know. But I think, I hope like, there is a particular small thing, like a very tiny thing Blue Sky can do. But I do really want to talk more about how to really solve climate in my book, because I think what we're trying to do at Blue Sky is one step. But the right solution is probably just thinking, why are we doing it? And not like how to solve it. Sometimes you don't really have to solve a problem. You just have to make the problem irrelevant. Like if you stop consuming stuff that none of us need, the problem will disappear. Right? So it's kind of like, let's say you're like in the US, there's a big obesity debate because US has a very high rate of obesity. And there's a new chemical drug which has come to go after that obesity. So one way of tackling obesity is that you keep on having 4 bottles of Pepsi a day and a lot of junk food and a lot of chips and a lot of salt and sugar. And you keep on gaining weight and you become 300, 400 kilos or whatever. And then you take a pill for like $10 a day, which makes you thin. The other way of solving obesity is not drinking Pepsi and, 4 bottles. Like not doing all of that.
Not doing it,
So I feel like for climate change, like my, like what I was looking with Blue Sky was like a little bit of like a weighing machine, which tells you your weight, that, hey, this is your weight. But now what I'm thinking of is a book, which will be like, hey, you don't have to drink 4 Pepsis and eat like 6 like McDonald's burger, right? You can eat roti sabji or cook it for yourself, right? So yeah, like that's like probably, but like what inspires me, I don't know. Probably just like life is boring. You have to do something for 8 hours a day. That probably, I don't know.
Yeah, because I remember, especially in the area that I live in, like recently there have been like a lot of constructions taking place here and there. And I always continuously keep on asking my mom and dad, okay, what is the need? There are so many other apartments and buildings that are still like empty. So you don't need new ones right now. So what's the point of the continuous constructions like everywhere?
Economic development.
Yeah.
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 So my last question to you would be, what would be your message to young students who are who are looking for new fields, for developing a career, that would sustain.
I really think that we focus a lot on career at
Hmm.
all of our ages and everything, and we don't really talk so much about life. Like, what do
Hmm.
you want from your life? What do you want your life to look like? So for instance, I have a lot of like younger cousins and, like nieces, nephews, like, I'm the elder sister, like my brother is 5 years younger to me. So I've looked at a lot of like people, and I think my generation's done a lot of mistakes because our generation was drilled by the boomers, like our parents' generation, to think a lot about career, career, career.
Career, yeah.
Now, obviously, I think there's one more problem with your generation also, like Gen Zs especially. So boomers were really good. They have good working ethos. They
Hmm.
know how to work. They are very sincere and diligent about work. Millennials and then Gen Zs are slightly entitled. We are slightly lost and lazy, and we don't work, right. So we don't have that
Yeah.
work ethics because we are born in this era of abundance, right?
Yeah. True.
So I think you have to find balance. We should
Hmm.
have right kind of work ethics. We should be sincere and diligent and not entitled and not like sort of, because see, at the end of the day, the world around us needs people to work. We need plumbers and carpenters and policemen and doctors and nurses, and we need like sort of like shopkeepers and retailers just to keep the world
Yeah.
working, right? Otherwise,
Hmm.
you just imagine like, the kind of uh like for instance, we should be diligent towards our work because when we go to a hospital, we want people to be diligent towards their work, right? So similarly, we
Hmm.
should have that like sort of general courtesy back. But at the same time, I think, especially for your generation, like thinking about just career would be very, very dumb and stupid. You guys should think more about life. It's like, I'm going to live till 80. How do I want to space my life? What are the things I want
Hmm.
to do in life? What are the things that I don't want to do in life? That would be a very good thing. Like yesterday, I was like, my dad is home and my boyfriend's parents are home. So we were all sitting at the dining table and I was like, hey, what do you guys want to do on weekend? Let's watch a play, like a theater play. Right. And my dad is like, no, I don't want to watch a theater play. He's like, but you've never seen a theater play. It would be a fun experience. You see it for the first
Yeah.
time. My dad goes like, you don't have to do everything in the world just because you're doing it for the first time because you haven't done it. You don't
Yeah.
have to do it, right? So I think we were a very FOMO generation, like fear of missing out.
Hmm.
We need to balance FOMO with JOMO, which is like joy of missing out.
Yeah.
I think like that balance would be really like, think about what you guys want in your life over the next 80 years, build out career accordingly. That would be sort of my, yeah,
Yeah.
last kind of answer.
Yeah, because I feel, especially in my age, like I'm saying, like whenever, like every family gathering or wherever you go, you ask this one question about what do you want to become and what do you want to do. And
You'll
like,
change too many careers. That's the thing
yeah,
now. Like it was easy when you're in our parents' generation to become like, I'm going to become a doctor and be that. It's very
hmm,
challenging in our generation. Technology is changing every 5 years. So you're
yeah,
gonna change. I have had so many careers already. Like I was in a sort of a government job, then I was doing something like I was in finance, and now I have a technology startup. So it's been like so many shifts of career already, right?
yeah,
You're gonna shift change a lot. You can't become one thing anymore.
yeah.
You keep on becoming something every 4 or 5 years of your life.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Because we have been made to look at it in a certain way that you have to pick one thing and that's exactly what you're gonna do. So people kind of lose track. That's not exactly what's going to happen. You have to change like 10 other job things. You'll change completely from what you have been thinking you might end up doing. So
I
they
mean,
kind
you
of
might
lose
prepare for
focus.
one job
Yeah,
and you might do that job, and that job might become irrelevant in like 4 years. So what will you do then? You have to
yeah,
figure out something else to do, right? Yeah.
yeah,
Awesome. Thanks so much. It was great chatting with you.
yeah. It was great talking to you as well, ma'am.
Awesome. Thanks so much, Ananya. See you
Yeah.
around.